Hello, Hare Krishna, Namaste, everyone. This is number 5 in a series of talks on the subject of 10 teachings of Bhakti. Tonight we're talking about the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality. If you've been following for 4 weeks, you will not be surprised at how a very limited human being in a white shirt is now sitting before you talking about ultimate reality, with the audacity that he thinks that someone can talk about the ultimate reality and expect to be believed. How is that possible? How audacious, how arrogant, that one human being says he knows the truth. The old saying is, I would love to be in a room full of people who are seekers of the truth, but I would not like to be in a room with one person who says that he's found it. Well, if you have been following for the past weeks, you will know that we've already come to the conclusion by logical analysis that the senses themselves cannot apprehend anything absolute. Senses are limited by nature. This gives us an appropriation of reality known as pratyaksha, sensory information. And then, using our powers of logical analysis, we can look at a situation using our senses and gain more information than is visible or audible. That is called anuman, or inference, logic. And then, through expert witness, or shabda, we can hear a testimony from a person who will tell us something which is beyond even our logic, such as, in China there is a great wall, it is called the Great Wall of China, it is real, I've seen it. So you have never been to China, you've never seen a wall, but someone comes back from China, from holiday, and they tell you, I have seen it. That is called shabda, or expert testimony. But none of these things are relevant with ultimate reality, because even the Great Wall of China has been there for a very long time, but eventually it will crumble. That we can be sure of. So that there is a Great Wall of China now is a true statement, but it is a relative truth. It is not an absolute truth. The only absolute truth, the only ultimate truth, is that which is not subject to the vagaries of change, and that is a truth which lies beyond this world, beyond the senses, and beyond our perception, even beyond the expert testimony of ordinary people. And therefore, in week 3, we decided that we would go to the Vedas. Now, at the moment, it is conjecture whether the Vedas will do all that they say they can do for you. Can any one book, can any one series of teachings give enlightenment? That remains to be seen. However, Amnaya, the source of truth, is a combination of the Veda and the Guru, the teacher, who hopefully will be a living example of what is written in the Veda, and together those two will present you with a guided opportunity to experience what the Veda is talking about. So what does the Veda talk about? Well, very soon into the Vedas we begin learning about the absolute truth. So that's the subject for this short talk. So if we are in a situation where we only describe what is real as being that which we can see or apprehend or hear from others, then that is subjective reality. And each of us will live in that world of subjective reality. Sometimes, as in a Venn diagram, our worlds will intersect and we will share the same reality. Most of the time, though, we'll all be living in our own reality bubble, unable to really connect to anyone else because we all see the world differently, from the tiny ant to the human to the god to the angel, to the yogi to the sage. Everyone sees the world in a different way. What is ultimate? So when we feel frustration in that situation, we come to seek the truth. The first element of the seeker is to consider what is the ultimate source of everything. If we don't know that, then the seeker has nothing to seek. The yogi has nothing to meditate on. The religious person has nothing to contemplate. So the first business of any body of work that says now to know the truth is that it must present this source of everything. So in the Upanishads, the absolute truth or the ultimate reality, the goal of the spiritual seeker is known as simply as Sat, S-A-T, Sat, which means the eternal. And the reason I like the Upanishads is because pretty much you can go a long way in the Upanishads and not disagree with anything. It's almost like reading a scientific text, in that we're not talking of Krishna or Vishnu or gods and goddesses or personalities. We're talking of almost impersonal, I won't say impersonal in a Vaishnav sense, but personal in the sense forces of nature, forces of higher reality, metaphysical principles. And so everyone can give a few nods in agreement. So in the Upanishads, the ultimate reality is known by a variety of terms, but the first one is Sat, which means eternity, or truth rather, or Brahman, the great, Paratattva, the highest existence. There's many terms. And when you approach the Upanishads, you have to be careful, because the absolute or the ultimate is known by many different terms, and these different terms are asking us, the reader, the hearer, to focus on just one element of that ultimate reality. And that's why, because there are different elements, we have different terminologies. So last week we talked about the dialogues between different important people, didn't we? We talked about 5 primary dialogues between the guru and disciple to reveal the Upanishads, to reveal the truth of the Upanishads. So in the Taittiriya Upanishad, there's a discussion between Varuna, the god of water, and Bhrigu, great sage. And Varuna replies to Bhrigu when he asks a question about Brahman. So what is this Brahman? Brahman is described as, Brahman, the word Brahman means the great source of everything. And he says, what is it? And the reply comes, and I'll read it to you, Taittiriya Upanishad, chapter 3, verse 1. That from which all beings are born, that by which, when born, they live, and that unto which, when departing, they enter. Desire to know that is Brahman. So based on this verse, Srila Vyasadeva, who later on will come to write the Srimad Bhagavatam from the depth of his meditation, after he's been ordered by his spiritual master to do so, to complete his offering to humanity. In the Vedanta Sutra he writes, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This is the first verse in the Vedanta Sutra. Out of the 555 verses, we find this verse. Now, Atato Brahma Jigyasa is the time to inquire about Brahman. So that's how you start a book for the seeker, for the spiritual seeker. Now in this human form of life is the time to inquire about Brahman. Next verse, Janmadhyasya yataha. That from which proceeds the creation, the sustenance and the dissolution of the world, of the universe, that is what we're talking about. That's the first thing. So then Vedanta Sutra goes on to eliminate all other ontological or metaphysical entities, such as the individual self not being the source of everything, or the primordial cosmic matter, pradhan, not being the source of everything, or any other physical causes that cause the universe. Now, it may be that some physical causes have brought the universe or perception of the universe into existence, but the cause of all causes is this Brahman that we're talking about. So the Chandogya Upanishad says, if you learn about it, you will learn about everything. If you comprehend it, you will comprehend all that is to be known. This is very intriguing. Could there possibly be such a thing as Brahman? It's tucked away in an ancient Sanskrit text, but the Upanishads have given great joy to millions upon millions, have caused them to embark on a lifelong search for this ultimate reality. But what's the proof? Last week we discovered different types of proof. So the first logical principle we apply here is the principle of causation. We examine everything around us, we see that it's got a cause. I have a piece of red string on my wrist, or 3 pieces of red string actually from different ceremonies. Somebody tied that. That was a cause of that string appearing on my wrist. Somebody made the string, possibly in a village in India somewhere. Someone grew the cotton in the field that became the string. I missed out a stage, someone made the string, someone dyed the string red, someone planted the cotton seed, someone pulled out the weeds. And ultimately you trace everything back to the cause of all causes. When you found a cause beyond which there is no cause, you will find the ultimate reality, or the ultimate cause. So here's an interesting thing. Did everything come from nothing, as the scientists say? Or did everything come from something? Before existence, was there non-existence? Or was there existence still? Now you might think that's a modern question, but actually it appears in a book known as the Chandogya Upanishad, which is a good book, 680 verses. Let me read it to you. This is from the 6th chapter. Somya, there's another dialogue going on. Before this world was manifest, there was only existence, one without a second. On this subject, some maintain that before this world was manifest, there was only non-existence, one without a second. And out of that non-existence, existence emerged. Very interesting. Same puzzle, same question that a scientist today would have. The father said, "O Somya, but what proof is there for this, that from nothing something has emerged? Rather, before this world came into being, O Somya, there was only existence, one without a second." So it's not saying, Krishna, we're not doing that yet. We haven't come there. In fact, the Upanishads don't really go there. The Upanishads are for the foothills of the Himalayas. The Upanishads are the book that you take with you when you're going to Everest Base Camp. So you read the Upanishads all the way to Everest Base Camp. You finish when you get to Base Camp. And the next day, when you're going up the summit of Mount Everest, they give you another book. They'll give you the Vedanta Sutra or the Bhagavad Purana. So the point here is that according to the Chandogya Upanishad, before all of existence came into existence, there was existence still, not non-existence. So just first principle here. We're going it step by step. Don't be impatient. So it's not void. The ultimate reality, it truly exists. And the name for this reality is Savishesh, a being with qualities, a being with qualities. Why do I use the word being? Because it's an existence. It's a conscious existence. Not nirvishesha, an undifferentiated, featureless existence. And the logic here is that because consciousness exists in and of itself, consciousness has a source. If the consciousness does not exist in the source, then how can the source manifest it? If there's no awareness in the source, no strength in the source, you don't get these manifested. Let me read this to you. The word Brahman is derived from the root verb briha, to grow. It means that which grows, brihati, and causes to grow, brahmayati. And the term is suggestive of a primal entity that is constantly expanding and causes all else to expand and multiply. So then we come to the Vishnu Purana. Vishnu Purana is like the Bhagavad Purana, or Srimad Bhagavatam, is one of the Sattvic Puranas, and it describes in the third canto Brahman as being Brihatva and Brahmanatva. Brahman possessing infinite greatness, both in respect of its intrinsic nature and its attributes. So sometimes people say, well, Brahman must be undivided. But again, we may not be able to see the colors in white light, but the colors are manifesting from the white light. In the same way, all the varieties that exist here of color, taste, sensations, all have their potentiality in Brahman. We're not quite getting onto the personal yet, but Taittiriya Upanishad calls the nature of Brahman as Satyam, which means real. It's Sat. Sat means the truth. If you go to India, on every coin in India, you'll see the motto of India. And it's taken from the Upanishad. I do not know which one. But Satyam Eva Jayate. The truth will prevail. Not just human truth, not just political truth, although that's a good ideal to strive for. But truth itself. Truth itself will prevail. When all of human civilization has been destroyed, that truth, or Sat, that which is Satyam, will prevail. Nothing can destroy it, nothing can add to it. It's above this world. So Satyam. But it's not its only quality, it has another quality, says Taittiriya Upanishad. Next one is Jnanam, or knowledge. That source of all has all knowledge. It's omniscient. It knows everything, past, present, and future. And Anantam. It is infinite. So this reality, this ultimate reality, is an existence which is non-conditioned by anything else. It's a self-contained substance which is not subject to any kind of modification. It exists forever without undergoing any kind of change. Very philosophical. The characteristics of Brahman distinguishes it from non-sentient matter, which undergoes constant change. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm aware that matter is changing. In fact, the aging process is great because it makes you into a good philosopher. Being young and being philosophical may not always be something that can work in harmony. But Maya means we become covered over, thinking that this body, that's the eternal part. I can reassure you it's not eternal. Jnanam means eternal knowledge, which is not subject to contraction or expansion. Unlimited knowledge. How would you like that? You can have it, says the Upanishad, but you have to become related to that Brahman. So, it means that Brahman possesses as an essential attribute infinite eternal knowledge. The very nature of Brahman is knowingness. And the last term, anantam, means that Brahman is not infinite. It's not limited by space or time or any other entity. It's unlimited. Brahman is omnipresent, meaning it exists everywhere all at the same time. It pervades all objects in the universe. And we should understand that when we say Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam, it doesn't mean that the ultimate reality is, the ultimate is reality, knowledge and infinity. Rather, it is possessing these qualities of realness, infinitude and supreme knowledge. Because saying that the ultimate is infinity, that's an abstraction. Rather, we're talking about Brahman that possesses these attributes. Next, the Upanishads speak of Brahman as being possessed of Ananda. So there's Ananta, which is infinitude, stretches on for infinity. Then there's Anandam, which is bliss. And this bliss of Brahman makes the reality of Brahman the very, very attractive for yogis and spiritual seekers. If Brahman was somehow miserable, why would everybody meditate on Brahman? So we meditate on Brahman, that which is spiritual, because it is intrinsically blissful. And in that bliss, we discover our own bliss. Then we come to Pancharatra. Pancharatra, which we talked a little bit about a couple of weeks ago, talks of the Supreme being perfect in jnana, or knowledge, bala, or strength, aishwarya, power or lordship, virya, or energy, tejas, splendor, and shakti, or power. And because of all of these qualities, the great commentator on the Upanishads, Ramanuja, says that Brahman is the adhara, or the foundation, or the ground of the universe, the grounding of the universe. That means everything that we see has come from, and everything is resting on Brahman. It is the controller, niyanta, of all things, and it is the Seshi, or the Lord of all. And Ramanuja concludes that the Brahman is Shariri, or the self of the universe. Just as you have a body, and inside that body is a soul, so the universe also is the body, and the soul of the universe is this Brahman. Very good. So then Ramanuja, through extended arguments, which we won't dwell on here, says that means, therefore, that because of all of these things, the supreme reality is sentient, and therefore must have a range of attributes which include volition. In other words, this Supreme Brahman must be able to choose what to do and how to do it. It must be able to think, must be conscious. We may not be able to understand how that which has created the universe is a conscious entity, but Ramanuja is arguing for this based on the Upanishads. So let's go through this again. We're talking about Satyam, that the truth is free from any relativities of time or space. We're talking about Chit, omniscience, someone who knows the universe and all living beings. Anantam, infinitude, that which is infinite, but at the same time is all infinite, but is always continuing to expand. Into what? Into infinity. But you said that the Supreme was infinite. That's true. Always expanding. Anandam, beatitude, possessing unlimited bliss. Now, it's sort of a tautology, isn't it? Trying to get your head around the last one. That the Supreme Reality is infinite and yet always expanding. I shall leave you to dwell on that. And then Amala, purity, free from all flaws, free from deterioration, and when one comes into contact with Brahman, one is purified. So then the Katha Upanishad, sort of Katha Upanishad, zeroes in on this state, this Brahman state, and says, Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahayan. The Supreme is smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. So, sometimes people would say, well, God is great. That's true, but God is also small. God is greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. Otherwise, Brahman is not Brahman. Nishkalam Nishkriyam Shantam. Without any movement, unchangeable. Shveta Shvetara Upanishad. And in the Kena Upanishad we find Na tatra chakshur gacchati navad gacchati namanaha. It transcends all worldly concepts, though it is not in itself a negation. Shveta Shvetara Upanishad says, Sarvaloka Ishata, the foundation of the universe. And of course this one you will know, Isha Upanishad says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Now Mahatma Gandhi, the father of modern India, he said if a foreign force came to India and wiped out every temple, every book in India, but there was just this one verse left, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, the whole Vedic Dharma, the whole of Sanatana Dharma would be able to reawaken just from this one verse. I guess he liked this verse. Ishavasyam. That everything that you see is pervaded, owned and controlled by the Supreme Reality. Then, Ichcha Matram Prabho Shrishti. Creation happens by the mere will of the Master. So here we have from the Mandukya Upanishad, we have a description that Brahman has will, that there is will, not just reality that is unchanging, not just infinity, not just full knowledge, not just bliss. None of those qualities can exist without this one, will, ikshana. There's willpower, that when he wants to do something, now we're using a he. I'm using conventional English here. He, she, it. When Brahman wishes to do something, Brahman can achieve it. Then, if I present this, it's because this, hopefully you will refer to this in the future. Na tasya karyam karanam na vidyate, na tatsamascha vyadikascha drishyate, parasya shaktir vividaiva shruyate, swabhaviki jnana bala kriya cha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad, very famous verse that Prabhupada used to quote it a lot. He does not possess bodily form like an ordinary being. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. His senses are transcendental. No one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapitam mukam tattvam bhushana pavrino satyadharmaya drishtaye. Another famous one. Isha Upanishad 15. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face, in other words, the real face of God, is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotees. So this is the call of the devotee. My dear Lord, Brahman is wonderful, but please remove that and show me your real self. If there's anything else that you wish me to see, reveal that to me. Satya Sankalpa akasatma sarva karma sarva kama sarva gandha sarva rasa sarvamidam apyato avyakyanadaraha. He is effulgent and glorious. His every desire is automatically fulfilled. You see, there's that ikshana. Whatever he wants is automatically fulfilled. There's nothing that can stand in the way of the desire of the Brahman. He's all-pervading. There's nowhere that he isn't. He is the original creator of everything. He fulfills all desire. This is interesting. He can fulfill all of his desires, but what about your desires? Well, if you're aligned with him, if you're one with him, he can fulfill all your desires too. He possesses all pleasant fragrances. How about that? Now we're getting somewhere. The Brahman is not just Satyam Jnanam Anantam Anantam, Anantam Anandam, and not just Balakriya Cha, but he's also all-pervading, the controller of everything. But what's happening now? Chandogya Upanishads opening up and saying he possesses all pleasant fragrances. So Brahman has a smell. Brahman, the source of everything in the universe, the source of the universe itself, has a smell. He is all sweetness. Wow. He is present everywhere. He cannot be described in words. He cannot be known. Of course, the Upanishads say he cannot be known by anyone through normal processes. If the Upanishads were saying these things using words, that the Supreme cannot be known in words, by words, then the Upanishads would not say anything. Just 2 more minutes. Na yanatma prapachanena labhyo namedaya na bahuna shutena yame vaisha vrunute tena labhya stasyasya atma vivrunute tanum swam. This is an important verse. The self is not attained. This is where we're going with this one. See, if you can't know it by words, what helps? The self is not to be attained by a study of the Vedas, nor by intelligence, nor by much hearing. But the self can be attained. How? Only by him who seeks to know it. To him, the self reveals its true nature. And this is from 2 Upanishads, the Mundaka and the Katha Upanishad. Mahata param avyaktam avyaktat purusha para purushanna param kinchit sakastana paragati sa paragati. Above the Mahat Tattva, the material energy, is avyakta, which means the unmanifest. Above that is Purusha, and beyond him there is nothing else. He is the limit, the ultimate destination. Katha Upanishad. Now we come to a word which is interesting for us, but it's another word from Brahman. Sodvana paramapruti tad Vishnu paramampadam. Vishnu is in the Supreme Abode. So, in Brahman is Vishnu. It's very interesting. Om tad Vishnu paramampadam sada pashanti surayo devivachakshuratatam tad vipraso vibandivo jagravangsa samindate Vishnu yat paramampadam. Very beautiful verse. All pujas and ceremonies include this one. Please listen carefully, because we're coming to the end now. Your concentration is much appreciated. Just as the sun's rays in the sky are extended to the mundane vision, so in the same way the wise and learned devotees always see the supreme abode of Lord Vishnu. Because those highly praiseworthy and spiritually awake brahmanas can see the spiritual world, they are also able to reveal that supreme abode of Lord Vishnu. So, one who focuses on Brahman, one who seeks Brahman, and one who has blessings of those who have sought and have achieved Brahman, they're able to reveal that. So this is coming back to our last week, where we talked about Guru, isn't it? So just to summarize, and I'll finish because I think we've done well tonight. Brahman is described in the Upanishads as the creator, the foundation, and the dissolver of the universe, as the inner controller, the supervisor, and the witness of all beings, as the soul of the universe with the universe as its body, as the superconsciousness of which our individual consciousness is a part, as the highest being with no material elements, yet possessing attributes, and as a side issue, the God that is talked about in religion. Thank you. Next week we'll go on to another subject. Thank you. Hare Krishna.